part of a more involved worker party of mostly North Korea, and I don't know how much connection that's actually allowed. And so most textbooks will talk about the response. This one is good enough where it at least mentions U.S. Army's action in it. So I'm going to settle on this book of most textbooks put the context of Sasam in the context of it being an anti-election. And because the part of the chapter that most of this is on is the establishment of the first South Korean government. So they talk about the So it's always in the context of people in Jeju were against the election. Some of the textbooks make it seem like they were against the election because they wanted it to be a unified Korea. There are certain other textbooks that in the language make it pretty blatant that they think of it as the people of Jeju were anti-South Korean election. Specifically, so they make it seem anti-South Korean. Yes. It is with the term. Sounds good?
Yeah. Go on.
Okay, so it is with that, with the final thought, is that Sasam is in the textbooks of all the high school history, but there isn't any curriculum protocol to how to teach it. And we can reasonably see from our discussion today that it is a very one-sided point of view. And hopefully in the future we could try to change the textbooks to there. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The next is last discussant, Professor Kunihiko Yoshida from Hokkaido University, Japan. Do you cover? Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's think about the keywords of the panelists of this session. I think bearing witness to the inhuman and psychosocial healing and education. And I'm going to say that all those key notions are closely related to the process of reconciliation. That's the topic of this conference, isn't it? And Eric Yamamoto's 4 hours showed us that the 4R, you remember that. First, recognition of past injustice. That's pretty much related to Professor Tamashiro's bearing witness to inhuman. And secondly, the admission of historical responsibility from the perpetrator's side. And third, sincere apology and supplementary reparation. And then at the fourth stage, final stage, reconstruction. Changing the relationship, getting back to the normal of the antagonistic relationship between perpetrators and the victims. And I'm going to show you the Japanese example as a negative example. In Japanese we have the term hanmen kyoshi, that probably in Korea you have the same term in Korea. And let's think about the comfort women issues. As a first step, and please notice that the latter stage, the reconciliation process consists of 4 stages, as Professor Yamamoto's 4R shows us. And at the first level of recognition of past injustice, do you know the Prime Minister Abe did in the Japanese Diet? He denied the fact of forcibleness in recruiting comfort women, in spite of lots of testimonies. By the way, today's Mr. Hu's and Mr. Park's testimony is very educational for us and very appealing and moving for all of us. And that's the starting point. But in Abe's case, he denies the past injustice. And then what did he do at the end of 2015? Just by providing 1 billion yen, overwhelmed by the monetary compensation centrism. And then he made request for irreversible forgiveness from the victims. But theoretically, reconciliation or the forgiveness from the victims can be attained voluntarily based upon the sincere admission of past injustice by perpetrators, sincere admission of historical responsibility, and then the making a sincere apology. But but on the other hand, then afterwards, the Prime Minister Moon Jae-in and Foreign Minister Kang made request or argue that you should, there's something more you should, but I think the Korean President understands well the process of reconciliation. On the other hand, the other cabinet members cannot understand at all this simple theory of reconciliation. And talking about psycho healing, the Professor John Topi showed us the taxonomy of symbolic reparations and economic reparations. But we need more. The psychological reparations is imminent issues among Jeju Islanders even after several decades. And we need more psychological reparations or communal reparations. The lots of communities among Jeju Islanders are still broken. The same thing can be said about the Fukushima TEPCO sufferers there. And so to overcome the serious issues, what shall we going to do? I think, for example, face-to-face communication between perpetrators and victims might be important. That was done after the Rwanda tragedies. Or we can learn something from the Nelson Mandela amnesty approach after confession of past injustice by perpetrators, as you know. That's what is done by the TRC in South Africa. Or the Renzi practice in Fushun Penitentiary in China that was proposed by the Prime Minister Zhou Enlai before liberating the perpetrators from there. And so my comment is still open-ended, but all the panelists at the last session showed us a hint for solving our challenges in the near future. And you have a new government, unlike in Japan, and definitely the situation will go in the near future in favorable ways, and it's envious for us, yeah, actually, and so that's the end. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your attention.
I am grateful for the wonderful presentation and discussion. So I think of the definite word April 3rd event, not the word April 3rd incident, or 4.3 Korean no more time. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to go straight into the performance, and then we will have some closing remarks, and then we will end our day. So, do we have an introduction for the performer? Yes. Professor Ko, will you introduce our performer?
Thank you so much. I'm also happy to invite Won Hyung-jun, musical director, Lindenbaum Festival Orchestra, as a special guest to just play a song for Sasam Bikin. Okay.